Hey y'all, Uncle Jimmy here. When you speak for yourself, you're forced to think for yourself. And when you think for yourself, the sports world looks different. In order to enjoy this podcast and this show, you need to have the courage to look at the world from alternative points of view and not be offended when you disagree. Speak for yourself isn't your Twitter, Facebook, or Instagram feed. SFY tells you what you need to hear and not what you want to hear. So, welcome aboard, buckle up, and enjoy the ride.
Myles Garrett, Mason Rudolph, and yet another AFC North embarrassment for the National Football League. Roger Goodell and the NFL nailed their reaction to the Myles melee, the ugly brawl that disgraced the Steelers-Browns game Thursday night. Punishment for the brawl had to be swift, harsh, and comprehensive. Those of us who love the game, those of us who have been elevated by football, those of us who understand the importance of the game cannot reduce what happened last night simply to Browns defensive end Myles Garrett. Hats off to Goodell and the league for not blowing it. Garrett has been suspended indefinitely, at least through the end of this season in the playoffs, for clubbing Pittsburgh quarterback Mason Rudolph with a helmet. A Pittsburgh center, Marquise Pouncey, deserved his 3-game suspension for punching and kicking Garrett in retaliation. Cleveland defensive tackle Larry Ogunjobi earned a 1-game suspension for pushing Rudolph to the ground, and I absolutely love the league fining both organizations $250,000. The league realizes what I do. This is about the AFC North, not just Myles Garrett. No question, Garrett is the ultimate bad actor. His behavior was by far the most egregious and worthy of harsh rebuke. Garrett has filled the shoes of former AFC North and Bengals linebacker Vontaze Burfict as the dirtiest player in football. At one time, Burfict was the new James Harrison, the former Pittsburgh linebacker who the league regularly fined for illegal hits. The AFC North is the division that keeps embarrassing the NFL. Remember the 2016 Bengals-Steelers playoff game? Burfict put Steelers receiver Antonio Brown into concussion protocol with a dirty hit. Pittsburgh assistant coaches Joey Porter and Mike Munchak made fools of themselves. Porter ran onto the field during a skirmish. Munchak pulled the hair of a Bengals player. Last night's game was a reenactment of that Bengals-Steelers clash. The Browns knocked Pittsburgh receivers Juju Smith-Schuster and Deontay Johnson from the game and into the concussion protocol with helmet-to-helmet hits. Earlier in the game, the refs flagged a Browns defensive lineman for roughing the passer when he launched himself and his helmet into Rudolph's head. The Browns played a dirty game. That's on head coach Freddie Kitchens. His team is the most penalized in the NFL this season. The Browns are tied with the Ravens at 8 for the most roughing the passer penalties. So far this season, Garrett had ended Jets quarterback Trevor Siemian's season with an illegal delivery sack. He punched tight end Delaney Walker. He's been flagged twice for roughing the passer and once for unsportsmanlike conduct. Garrett solely instigated last night's melee. The game was over. The Browns were leading by 2 touchdowns. The Steelers were running out the remaining 15 seconds on the clock when Garrett executed a delivery sack, which is a hit on the quarterback in the moment after he's thrown the football, and then twirled and flung Mason Rudolph to the ground. Rudolph responded by pushing and tugging at Garrett's helmet. Garrett overreacted and escalated a minor incident into a brawl that damages the NFL and football. You can quibble that the Steelers did nothing wrong last night and didn't deserve to be fined, but the Steelers were fined for past behavior and contributing to a culture of dirty play in the AFC North. All right, joining the desk now are Fox NFL analyst TJ Houshmandzadeh, Super Bowl champion Brady Papinga. LeVar, start us off. Did the NFL get this right?
Oh, I think they largely in part got it right.
Largely in part?
Largely. I think
largely in part.
I think it would have totally been correct if Mason Rudolph is on the suspension list. I really do. I think that may be the only miss. Well, it's interesting because when you look at, and I had conversations with some league officials and sources close to what took place. The three terms that are being used is choices, intent, and action. All right, now it's not clear to be able to establish the intent of Mason Rudolph and the entire deal. Early on in the play, when he gets tackled, when he gets almost sacked, you can look at it and say there could be a finable offense for him grabbing onto Myles Garrett's helmet. It's a finable offense for Myles to grab his helmet off of him. But now you're leaving the realm of fines, and now you're getting into the realm of suspensions. That suspension took place when Mason Rudolph ran up on Myles Garrett and put his hands on Myles Garrett, and then Garrett made the choice that established true intent of malice, and that's when he hit him with the helmet. So to me, even though it's not clear as to what his intent was, Mason Rudolph's intent running up on Myles Garrett at that moment, I think that largely in part with his role in what took place, he should have been on that suspensions list.
Tugged at a guy's helmet, suspended. He tugged, a quarterback tugged at a defensive lineman's helmet, and we're going to suspend him. Let's be real.
Again, all right, we can say.
Let me say this. Let me say this. It was yesterday, earlier this week. You walked us through how you put a guy out of a game.
That's correct.
You grab him, you lock up his arms,
That's correct.
and you fling him, bounce his head off, the ground. I didn't say it's illegal. Okay. That's how you put a guy out of a game. That's what Myles Garrett did to Mason Rudolph. He locked up his arm. It was textbook. It was like you were talked about the play earlier in the week, and Myles Garrett was watching and said, I'm going to do it. Mason Rudolph has already been in the concussion protocol this year. This dude just bounced his head off, and he's supposed to have no reaction?
Well, let's revisit that, okay? So, in the first place, the play was called with 14 seconds left in the game. 14 seconds left, and you're losing by 2 touchdowns in this game. Why call a play where you release the defensive end
Mike
to come
Tomlin's fault. He should be suspended?
I'm not saying whose fault it is. I'm saying I'm merely giving you the factual information here. Why call a running back screenplay with 14 seconds left on the clock? Secondly, let's go. Secondly, let's go back to intent. If you take a look at this picture here, now we're trying to establish, is there malice involved, or are you just going at it to go at it? If you look at Mason Rudolph's face right here, while he's about to get hit by Myles Garrett, that is not a look of oh, why did you mess with my helmet? Why did you tackle me so late? Why did you roll me to the ground and lock my arms up? That is a look of, that's fight. He's looking for confrontation.
And so that green lights this dude to club him.
No, it doesn't green light him to do that, but he should be a part of
the NFL get it right,
TJ? The NFL got it right. The only thing that I don't agree with is I don't believe Maurkice Pouncey should have been suspended 3 games, maybe 1 or 2. I would probably say 2 because you don't want him to play when they play the Browns the next game. Just know him out. He's a dog, and so you don't want him on the field for that second game. I get that part. So hopefully he appeals. They take 1 game off, and he's suspended 2 games. But for the most part, I believe Mason Rudolph started it. Don't tug at my helmet, and then when I get tough back with you, you play the victim. Period. He shouldn't have swung and hit him. Nobody, I'm not going to argue that was dumb. Like, flat out, that was stupid. Why would you swing a helmet at somebody without a helmet?
Well, you just said it. He tugged it.
Why are we using tug? He grabbed his helmet.
Stop
using tug.
That's the thing, no.
He tugged his helmet.
You're a defensive player. This is an emotional game, man.
Yeah.
Like, you're emotional.
8 seconds left, up 2 touchdowns. The game's over. Y'all know how this plays.
Emotion was gone. But when you tug at my helmet, come on, Mason Rudolph knows good dang well he was tugging at his helmet. So when I take your helmet off, don't be surprised.
TJ.
You initiated it.
Just answer me this.
Yes.
And then we'll move on to Brady here.
Yes.
Answer me this. When Myles Garrett, delivery sack, the ball's gone, he twirls him, bounces.
Okay,
wait.
Sack?
Hey, Jake, when
it's
you watch,
a delivery
no. When you watch
That's a perfectly legal play.
Who hit the ground first, Myles Garrett or Mason Rudolph when he
I know
delivered?
Whose head hit the ground.
No, Myles Garrett landed on his back. Mason Rudolph was on top of him, and he rolled him over. That's so.
With his arms on his
That's
head.
the provocation.
Myles Garrett hits the ground first. Mason Rudolph is on top of him. Myles Garrett rolls him over, and he starts to pull at the helmet. Now, everything after that, Myles Garrett is wrong. I probably would take your helmet off. I'm not swinging it at you. That was idiotic. But to answer your question, I don't think Maurkice Pouncey should have been suspended 3 games.
No reason to take this guy to
Go ahead, Brady. Go ahead.
Yeah, well, in my view, the NFL, Roger Goodell, in the context of football, got it right. But what Myles Garrett did was not a football move. It was completely outside of football, and that's because the helmet came off. And so in that case, we got to go criminal here. Full atomic criminal with Myles Garrett. Because, you've been there in fights and practice. we all keep our helmets on usually, and everybody, what are we doing? We're punching each other in the face mask and in the helmet because we know very well we're sending more of a message of a boundary than trying to inflict pain onto somebody that can be potentially damaging and ultimately maybe life-threatening. I don't know. We're messing with the head here. But as soon as the helmet comes off and it's being swung, and I've been there. I've been in a fight in practice with a big old sloppy offensive lineman, 6'6", 300 pounds, who ripped my helmet off and blasted me on the head, just like Myles Garrett did to Mason Rudolph there. Hit me with the crown, by the way.
And what'd you do?
Luckily, well, what I did was...
But you say it's criminal, though, but you didn't do nothing when it happened to you.
Well, I didn't do anything
Don't make no sense.
Well, because I haven't had time to retrospectively look at it until this came up, and I'm like, you know what? That's criminal, man. Because the bottom line is this stuff's going to keep happening, especially in the AFC where there's a lot of emotion. It's a physical style.
That won't happen
football.
again.
AFC North?
That won't happen.
Well, let's hope not.
That won't happen again.
Well, they said that last time Perfect did his little deal. Where the whole
hitting guys, like when guys get hit, in your Whitlock, you talk about the Deontay, I believe his last name is Johnson, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That was a little dirty. But the hit with Juju, I thought that was incidental. Guy hit Juju, Juju's helmet hit another guy. I thought that was more incidental than Demarius Randall hitting Deontay Johnson more so than anything. Now, you say, oh, if that happened, how can you say it's criminal intent when you are involved in something like that in practice where emotions are not as high? There's no way.
The whole premise and the whole root of where this took place is Mason Rudolph being embarrassed. We talked about will Baker Mayfield be embarrassed in this game on the show yesterday. You want to know why he acted out and incited the whole melee and criminal acts to take place? Because he was embarrassed. Mason Rudolph had a horrible game. Threw one touchdown, meaningless, really. You're still trying to score with 14 seconds left in that game. You want to try to make this game 14-21. He gets hit. He's butthurt that he has not had a good game against the Cleveland Browns. He's working for his job, and he's embarrassed.
Lamar.
That's where all of this came from.
No, that's not where all of it came from.
Oh, that's the root.
That's where a part of it came from.
That's the root.
No. That's where a part of it. Again, we can't sit here and act like Myles Garrett has no history. We've already seen it this year. He's been flagged for illegal hits on quarterbacks all year. His reputation precedes him. It starts with Myles Garrett. Now, was this kid embarrassed? Absolutely. Was he frustrated? Did he react in that moment out of embarrassment and frustration? Yes. It starts with Myles Garrett. Let's quit playing a game here. Myles Garrett, and again, I've been on the phone talking to people. He's one of these kids that doesn't fit in. A little too goofy for the brothers. And to me, what Myles Garrett has been doing all year is trying to get his street cred. He's been over the top. He's punched Delaney Walker. He illegal hit on Trevian Simmons and ended his career.
But this
and now this tonight, 15 seconds left in the game, you know damn well the Steelers going to run some stupid play. It's been done a million times in the NFL at the end of 2-score and 3-score games.
He played the play.
There's a lot of defensive linemen that get penalties.
They ran a play. He played the play. He made a perfectly legal play. There's nothing wrong with that. Fine schedule. He's on a fine schedule, maybe. Mm-hmm. Mason, maybe, on a fine schedule. Where the whole thing escalated, right?
What started
He's
it?
removed from the entire situation by DeCastro and what's Buddy's name? Filer. Filer and DeCastro, more so DeCastro, removes him from the situation with the helmet in his hand. By him jumping up, Mason Rudolph, and charging the dude and grabbing him on the head, takes away.
Grabbing him on the head. He jumped up
He grabbed him before Myles Garrett went upside his head. That takes away criminal act. You can be perceived as attacking him in that moment.
Now, as it relates to the criminal act, I'm not for it because, look, on a football field, you get in a fight, even when the dude goes over the line, I'm not for criminal charges. I would lose respect, to be honest with you, if Rudolph went that route. It's football. It got silly and stupid. This guy's been shut. He's going to lose $1 million. He's going to lose some games probably next year, too. You know, I'm not for the criminal charges. I don't believe that. But it's crazy to sit here and try to act like there's any equality in what started this, who the real bad actor is. It's Myles Garrett. We have seen players tug, grab at each other's helmets plenty of times in football. What we have not seen is in an NFL game that I can remember, somebody club a helmetless man over the head with a helmet. Now, damn it.
We've seen them try. They've tried. Antonio Smith tried to hit Richie Incognito. He missed. Yes, he did.
He went for his gut, by the way, which is a very...
Richie Incognito's head was down here. He swung it at his head, missed, and dropped the helmet right at his feet.
Not to this degree, though.
Maybe it wasn't a helmet.
No,
it wasn't to this degree because he missed. Because he missed.
He didn't even go with that same kind of force, though.
What about our receiver that was in Houston that was dropping bombs?
Andre Johnson.
The reality here is it's choices, intent, and actions. And you're 100% right. The choices that were made by Myles Garrett, the choices that were made by Maurkice Pouncey, those two in particular, and you could put Ogunjobi in there and say that his choices led to them getting suspended. No doubt about it. No doubt about it. But I still go back to actions and intent. For the simple fact that you can't prove without a shadow of a doubt anything that Mason Rudolph did intent-wise would lead for him to get suspended is the only reason why I'll sit here and say the NFL got it completely right, and the only reason why I would sit here and say I have an ounce of respect for Mason Rudolph in the sense that if he were to take legal action, I would lose all respect for him. So his intent, I don't know what his intent was, but he chose not to put his hands on Garrett in a way where he would get suspended, and that's a choice. The choices that they made, that's the reality that sits, and that's why they got suspended. I'll stand on that. But I don't think Mason Rudolph, by any stretch of the imagination, should not be held accountable for being culpable for the start. He will be fined. He will be fined.
No, he's going to get fined.
There's going to be a ton of guys that get fined. But he started it. He started the whole thing. He started the whole thing.
Okay, you say he started. Let me just ask this question. Just give me a yes or no. If Myles Garrett doesn't throw him to the ground, do you think anything happens? Just say yes or no. If Myles Garrett doesn't throw him to the ground, is there any melee? This is yes or no. That's not a hard question. That's a yes or no.
I don't know because
if Myles Garrett doesn't throw him to the ground,
their defense held them to 7 points.
No. So if you
no.
I don't know that. I don't know that. You don't know that.
No. This is the thing, though. Myles Garrett didn't throw him to the ground.
That might have been
watched the play.
Yes, he did. He hit him and threw him to the ground.
Myles Garrett was on his back. Mason Rudolph was on top of him, and he rolled him over.
On his back?
He rolled him over.
Look at the play. The guy pulls him to the ground. His head first.
That's pretty late.
He's just making a tackle.
It's pretty late.
He's not making a tackle.
That's late.
No. TJ played wide receiver. He doesn't understand. No. TJ played wide receiver. In order to make a tackle, the guy has to have the ball. That's not a tackle.
But do you know?
It's a screen.
Now, I'm going to agree. Myles Garrett knew what he was doing. He knew he didn't have the ball. Yeah. He didn't just slam the guy on the ground. He didn't slam him on the ground.
I do not know that's 100%
my thing is this.
He knew he had the ball.
Don't start something, and then when it escalates a lot further than you expected, you act like, oh, I didn't do anything. It wasn't me. It was you. It was you.
And I agree with you. Myles Garrett hasn't acted that way. He's taking responsibility. He did start it, and he's taking responsibility.
No, Mason Rudolph started it.
No.
Myles Garrett would have.
The Pittsburgh Steelers started it by the call.
Jason, as much as they protect the quarterback, did you see a flag for the
There was no
late
flag.
Because the referee blew the damn call. And he should be
as many flags as they threw yesterday.
He should be disciplined too. It was stupid for him not to throw a flag.
That could have easily been a sack.
If that's an illegal play, there was no flag on Myles Garrett. So as much as they protect the quarterback, they're not going to throw a flag on that?
That's not an illegal play. That's not an illegal play. It's not.
It's not.
It's not an illegal play.
In this modern NFL, it is.
That is not an illegal play.
All right, welcome back to Speak for Yourself, presented by Hyundai. I'm Jason Whitlock, joined by LeVar, Johnny Cochran, Arrington, and Freddie Papinga.
Hey, man, if the helmet don't fit.
Joining the desk now is Hall of Famer Eric Dickerson. Time now for a big story. Let's return to Thursday Night Football, where Myles Garrett was suspended indefinitely for whacking Steelers quarterback Mason Rudolph in the head with his helmet. The Browns and their head coach, Freddie Kitchens, are widely considered as one of the most undisciplined teams in the league, leading the NFL in penalties and penalty yards. And after the game, they didn't have a ton of answers for their behavior last night.
What I did was foolish, and I shouldn't have allowed myself to slip like that. That's out of character. But a situation like that where, it's an emotional game, like Larry said, and allow myself to fall into those emotions, with that last play and what happened. I appreciate, my team having my back, but it just never got to that point. That's on me.
You have to be able to maintain your composure in times like that, and under no circumstance do we want anything to do with anything like that. I'm embarrassed. Myles is embarrassed. He understands what he did. He understands it's totally unacceptable, and we got to get through it.
All right, should we blame Freddie Kitchens for the Browns' behavior last night?
No, I wouldn't. No, stop looking at me like I got 6 eyeballs.
We can't
on
blame
my head.
Freddie Kitchens.
No.
We can blame Mason Rudolph, but not Freddie Kitchens.
There's this thing in science, right? If you have a slope, all right, and you put a weighted ball on there, science tells you can know by the weight of the ball, the size of it, how far it's going to travel, where it's going to go. All right, scientifically speaking. If you put a mouse on that same surface and let them go, science is out the door. You cannot predict where that mouse may go. And it's the same thing that exists here. You can coach your team. You could tell them very clearly and succinctly what it is that you would like for them to do, what you want for them to do, and what that interpretation is and the execution of what that is on the field is totally up to each and every one of those singular individuals. That's what makes the team sport such an amazing sport, is because you are trying to actually instruct somebody within the parameters of a game plan to do exactly what it is that you're telling them to do. When you get off into talking about penalties and personal fouls and what took place last night, I don't think that that's something that you totally put at the feet of the head coach.
We say totally.
All right.
Totally.
Well, is he the blame for the behavior?
I can blame Freddie Kitchens.
All right. I don't blame him for it.
No, you can't blame him.
Oh my God!
Okay, that's better. Okay, Jason, let's blame him. I'm with you. I'm with Jason. Everybody, I'm with Jason. Now, let's blame him. No, you can't blame the head coach. Of course not. Let me explain something to you.
Go ahead.
You know this too. You play football. You play sports. Anytime a fight breaks out, let's just say a fight breaks out, and Myles Garrett is on the ground fight. I'm the coach. If the coach would have ran on the field at the time, if you run on the field and Myles doesn't know who you, he's going to hit you too. I mean, that's how he's going to be like, hey, coach, I didn't know that was you. I mean, this is I'm mad. It's emotion. When a game is going on, understand this, and you know it well as I do, football is so emotional. It takes, you get so geeked up and hyped up. And now it's a fight involved with a team that y'all don't like. You have a big-time history with them. You can't, it's not the coach's fault he fought out there. That was Myles' fault. And it started with Mason Rudolph. That's what kind of escalated. Now, Myles took it way too far, for sure, but, I can't blame Freddie Kitchens.
My DMX voice. Let the goat speak.
Go ahead, Brady.
Well, I'll say this. The moment that Myles Garrett hammered Mason Rudolph in the head with that helmet was the moment that the nail in the coffin of Freddie Kitchens' career as the Cleveland Browns was hammered down. He's gone. And because it all falls on him. Look at how they played all year long.
You happy?
They've been undisciplined. They have had self-inflicted errors, unforced errors throughout the season where their execution is lacked. Baker Mayfield has even attested to that, to where critical moments.
Your team, where you would sit here and talk about how great they are. Right there, right where they are.
They have the potential, the talent. Okay. The problem is they got to be able to put together. And if they can't get on the same page,
let me ask this a different way, based off of Freddie's blameless, blah, blah. Can I credit Bill Belichick for the success of the Patriots? Can I do that? Or he gets no credit? Because, again, if there's no blame, there's no credit either. So the coaches have nothing to do with anything that goes on out on the field. They don't establish a culture. They don't establish a culture of discipline and accountability. Bill Belichick's teams don't do this. I can run through a bunch of teams that don't do this. But we can't credit the coaches.
That is not the point.
Because they have nothing to do with any of this. When the players hit the field, the coaching and everything's out the window. I'm glad it's settled now. Now we know.
Players get fined on the Patriots team as well. I'm sure if we look at the fines.
Do they do this?
Well, I mean, how many teams have we seen do this?
Yeah, it keeps happening in the AFC North. And Freddie Kitchens and this team has been out of control all year. They've been undisciplined all year. Myles Garrett's been the dirtiest player all year. And voila, Thursday Night Football, here he is slamming somebody over the head with his helmet. But no, let's don't blame the coach who got the damn job when he wasn't qualified. Let's don't blame him. It's everybody else's. It's Mason Rudolph's fault, and it's Mike Tomlin's fault for calling the play.
We film practices. We film practices. We don't know.
There's certain things that coaches can take culpability over and be responsible for. Some of the behaviors that take place out on the field just aren't. That's just not in. That's not there. That's not it. I'm not. You cannot control what a free-souled human being does in the heat of a moment of a game.
I say it.
Y'all got kids too.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's how I know.
Yeah, I know. And so
I can tell you one thing. You want to do something else.
If your kids are successful or unsuccessful, it has nothing to do with you all.
That's not what we're saying.
I mean, like I said before, think if you're on the field and just like Myles Garrett, if my son was on the field and he got into a fight, let's say he was a big boy, he got into a fight, and I ran out there, he didn't know it was me. He's swinging, he fighting, he like, oh, Dad, I ain't gonna knock you out.
Yeah, right.
It's like, did
y'all watch the game?
Yes.
Yes.
There were
and then ran it back.
3 helmet-to-helmet hits, all by Cleveland.
But you know what, Jason, them helmets, some of those helmet-to-helmets, like, once again, you can't blame the coach. I can tell you why. I can tell you not to do it. I can tell you, son, don't hit with your helmet. Son, don't lead with your helmet. Son,
the play's coming this way. The play's coming this way.
Son, I told you don't duck your head.
Listen, why y'all act so naive? And you a coach, LeVar.
I experienced this firsthand.
So if y'all don't think Freddie Kitchens all week wasn't in his players' rear end, we taking the fight to Pittsburgh. This is going to be an AFC North game. We are not going to be punked. We are going to punk them. If you don't think all week he wasn't jamming it down his players' throats about what kind of fight this was going to be, and we're not going to be out physical, and these previous Cleveland Brown teams have been punked by the Steelers, and it's not happening here. He set an environment and a culture for this to happen. The helmet-to-helmet hits all game, and then the end of it. And they ran through the finish line with Myles Garrett up 2 touchdowns. Let me get one more dirty hit in. You can blame that on Freddie Kitchens. You know damn well that's what he was talking about. That's why the Cleveland media, after the game, asked him, you gonna take any responsibility for this? And he got, what you mean, what about what you said early in the year? Everybody knows he set a culture for this, and the culture's within the AFC North. I halfway don't blame him.
You want to know the sad thing about your commentary? And there's a lot of truth in your commentary. The sad thing about it is they did win that game very handily, 21-7, and are showing signs of turning the corner as a team to actually possibly go down the road of what Brady Papinga said so many weeks back on the show. And the game truly loses. The fans truly lose. People that have faith in this game, I blame the action. I blame the action and the intent.
Dead man walking. Well, he's walking the Green Mile these last 6-7 weeks.
I don't put that on Kitchens.
He's toast. And again, all the people, and again, I'm not going to defend Hugh Jackson huge here, but this has been a clown show in Cleveland.
Oof.
It's been a clown show all year. And the quarterback handled it well. We'll get into that here shortly. But it's been a clown show, and if I can't blame the head coach,
I would disagree with that.
It's been a clown show.
I would disagree with him handling it the right way.
Every weekend fighting with the NFL about his uniform and this and that. And oh my, I'm a victim.
Love OBJ.
It's been a clown show, and Freddie Kitchens is to blame. Jason Whitlock joined by LeVar Arrington. Eric Dickerson and TJ Houshmandzadeh are back. Let's return to Cleveland, where the Browns beat the Steelers for the first time in 5 years. But unfortunately, the win was marred by an ugly fight at the end of the game. The league acted swiftly, suspending Myles Garrett indefinitely, and perhaps the only positive thing to come out of the brawl was watching Baker Mayfield's immediate reaction to the incident with our very own Aaron Andrews. Take a listen.
I didn't see why it started, but it's inexcusable. I don't care, rivalry or not, we can't do that. That's kind of the history of what's been going on here lately, hurting yourself, and that's just endangering the other team. That's inexcusable. He knows that. I hope he does now. It's tough. We'll see. You know what? The reality is he's going to get suspended. We don't know how long, and that hurts our team. And we can't do that. We can't continue to hurt this team. It's inexcusable.
All right, question here is, gain any respect for Baker with the way he handled his post-game interview?
No. And here's the reason why.
Your first good answer of the day. Go ahead.
Oh, my God. It was not a post-game interview. It was a quick get him on the mic as soon as the game ended. A post-game interview is you give the players the opportunity to get into the locker room, cool down, maybe even talk to their teammates, talk to the media. This is the process.
Let me ask you a simple question.
Yes.
Between you and I, who's the journalist?
Well, you're the journalist.
That's a post-game interview.
That is not.
Let me break down.
But
post means after
for a
game.
journalist, that's a post-game. That's a post-game interview.
Yeah, we
for
get to decide that.
For a player, well, that's the key to all of this. If the player understands that they get to decide it and not the journalist, then they're in a good situation.
Okay, well, let's do this then. Gaining respect for him after that interview.
I don't, because he could have said, and he said all the right things. But here's why I don't have the respect for it, is because he needed to have the conversation and make sure his teammates, if you want to be a leader, right?
Now you're on the...
Have a conversation with your teammates before you say the things that you are going to say anyway. But the fact that he said it right after the game, not post-game interview style, but right after the game, it takes away the genuine in nature of what his messaging would have been.
No, what you think it undermines him as a leader. That's a good point. That's a good point.
It does.
You gain any respect?
I'm with you, LeVar. I didn't gain respect for him. What he said was correct.
It was correct.
But you want to get into the locker room and talk to Myles Garrett and Ogunjobi about why, what happened, what's going on.
Let me make sure y'all
for you to say, I didn't see it, I don't know what happened, you want to have your teammates back. And so they'll have your back in this situation the same way the Steelers had Mason Rudolph's back. And so, I mean, I didn't lose respect for him either. Gain respect? No, because I felt like regardless when you're right or wrong, you want to have your teammates back. And for you to say, oh, I didn't see anything, I don't know, then why would you say what you said?
I think they put him in a difficult situation, pulling him right off the field and putting him right there. Okay, I'm going to give you an example. Remember Richard Sherman and Mike Crabtree?
Yeah.
Remember that?
Yeah.
That was right after the game. I mean, it just happened. Now, if you saw what Richard Sherman said, that bomb receiver, he said more than that. Garbage receiver.
Right.
But now, okay, let's take that. Let's wait 10 minutes and talk to him. That would have come out different because now he had time to calm down. Yeah,
Jason, if players were able to
say what they
right after the game, boy, the media would get some sound bites. You'd be like, whoa.
No, I get it, but that's one of the great moments in Richard Sherman's career. That's going to define him. People love it about him.
But people people vilified him because they called him uneducated.
Yeah,
they called him uneducated. Yes, they did.
No,
yes,
Eric,
they did. Yes, they called him uneducated. They didn't know the kid went to Stanford. They graduated. Yes, they did. He's uneducated. Talking like a thug. They call him like a thug. They call him a thug.
We can't just make this up.
I'm not making this up.
We can't just pull it out of our rear end. There has to be standards here. That's one of the great moments in people love that.
Let me tell you what
realness, the authenticity.
We love it. You might love it, but I'm telling you, they vilified this man behind that. I mean, they did.
Let me tell you what would have gained me respect for Baker Mayfield in that moment.
Please.
I appreciate this opportunity to talk on camera right now, but you know what's most important right now is that I get back here and talk to my team and see what's going on, and I'll talk to you guys in a few minutes.
Solid points, because
I just think that
not that
you
I'm
want to
the
gain
arbiter.
respect. You want to gain respect.
But
let that have been, and that would have been a defining moment for Baker Mayfield too, if he would.
I think Baker may have hurt himself with his teammates here with these comments, because he certainly should have. And I liked his answers.
I did
in
too.
The moment.
He handled himself very well. Very well.
But to me, if I'm being the leader of the Cleveland Browns,
let me go talk.
I'm going to, hey, this was crazy. I want to get with my teammates before I make any comment. I want to make sure I'm on rock solid ground.
Absolutely.
I'm not out on the field. I don't know. Maybe the guy pulled a knife on him. Who knows? Who knows?
You don't know.
Maybe he said something that he didn't know.
Yeah, well,
maybe he didn't
maybe,
say.
Maybe he said something.
I get it. We always love to go there. There's no justification at the end of the day. And again, he's on rock solid ground. I don't care what name because first of all, he didn't call him a name, but if he did, I could care less. There's no justification for what he did. But Baker should have dealt with his team first and then the media and fans. I think this may be a problem for him in the locker room.
That's not Baker's fault. I mean, Baker's a young player. He's 24 years old. I mean, look, I'm not saying we know, James, we all can't agree with you. I know.
I don't want you to agree. I just want you to understand what you're actually saying.
I'm going to tell you, just like I said about Richard Sherman and Michael Crabtree.
He was asked a question after the game.
He didn't get his helmet.
Is he okay?
On. They didn't tug on Baker's helmet.
Is he okay? Is he okay today? Baker, Bake, you good, Bake?
But
they
the
asked
thing
you a
is,
question after
let me out the car, Bake.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think he's a victim.
I don't think he's a victim.
Let me out the car.
He misplayed it.
He just said, yeah, right. He should have said, let me get in the locker room and talk to my teammate. He just answered a question that, hey,
right there.
And right there.
What he said, he was right.
He was right.
But you want to have that conversation with your
and
team.
could have said the exact same things he
Once
said.
you go into the locker room, Freddie Kitchen will address it, and then Baker Mayfield.
All right, we're going to go to break. I'm going to give these guys a chance before I ask them some more questions. I don't want to make any
Get
victims.
the chalk out.
We want to welcome those of you watching us on Caffeine. You can actually chat with our social media manager, Darnell Smith, right now on the app, so join the party. All right, time now for Darnell's question of the day. Darnell, take it away, homeboy.
Yes, sir. Let's talk Colin Kaepernick, whose big NFL workout is tomorrow. Adam Schefter reports that Kaepernick is already in Atlanta preparing for his big day. The league has not provided the names of the wide receivers it plans to have at the workout, so Cap is taking up the offers from former NFL wide receivers who volunteered to fly in on their own to help him out. One guy who threw his name in the ring is Antonio Brown. He's certainly available right now, as we all know. He posted on social media, want to play catch. So, guys, you think this would be a good idea?
Not for Kaepernick. If you overthrow or underthrow or throw behind Johnny Nobody, it's no big deal. If somehow you throw inaccurate passes to a Hall of Fame wide receiver, it's a real bad look. So it would be great for AB, not good for Cap.
I like it. I like it because of the opposite approach of it. A veteran receiver, a receiver that's the best receiver in the game that isn't in the game, taking direction from a quarterback has a way of making that quarterback look much better than what he possibly is and can achieve. So I think him going there and having the understanding, the dimensions of the field, how the ball works and different things like that, I think it can't hurt Kaepernick having an experienced vet as talented and as gifted as AB catching the ball for him.
I like it as well, just more so from a support standpoint. Like, if you need me, I'll come out there. I like that part from AB, and it's what you said. If Kaepernick has truly been working out, it's not that hard to tell AB, all right, we're going to run this curl route 5 steps, 1 hitch. Okay, AB, I know I got to be at 12 yards. We're going to run a comeback. I'm going to go 5 with 2 hitches. AB should know I got to be at 18 yards. And so if you have an NFL receiver and Kaepernick's not going to underthrow him, if anything, he would overthrow him on a deep ball. Personally, I like it because AB is an NFL receiver, and that will make Cap look much better.
I like what you said before supporting, but I just think it's a terrible idea because this is supposed to be Kaepernick's day. It's for him. And I think if I'm an NFL exec, if I'm a general manager of a football team, I'm looking at AB. I mean, because I know I like to get him on my team. You know, if I just carry him back, don't be crazy. So that's why I don't like the idea of him coming out there. I think it's going to take away from Kaepernick.
But I think the funny thing about that is that that's a decision that Kaepernick has to make because a lot of the discussion points that I've made has been basically Kaepernick making this about Kaepernick. So he's got to decide, is he okay? And
Eric's giving him great advice. Why would you contradict?
Well, and to that point, there may be more scouts there to see what's taking place because of AB.
Oh, and there might be some head coaches.
I'm going to take full advantage of all them eyes being out there.
Yeah, but still, if they ain't looking at Kaepernick, they're looking at AB.
He got to catch that ball.
Kaepernick is throwing dimes, they going
to take notice.
Ain't nobody
throwing nickels
ain't nobody.
to AB.
Hey, you know what? We might just sign both of them.
He ain't going to be long for the league anyway. So nickels you throw and nickels you get. You ain't going to get that opportunity. But if you're out there and you perform, and that's what sports is about. Yep. If you perform when you're supposed to perform, all things work out. And if you don't, you're not long for the league anyway.
Ain't nobody rushing him. Ain't nobody.
No, they're going to send Myles Garrett out there. He got a little bit of time on his hands. Hey, Myles, they need your help, player.
Good idea or bad idea, Darnell?
I understand your point, Webb, but hey, if he's been working out, why not do it? At the end of the day, you want to be in the league. This is, like you said, TJ, this is an NFL wide receiver. If you can't throw it to one of the best receivers in the game, then you can't be in the league anyway. So, hey, high risk, high reward.
I want to know if he shows up to the workout with the afro or with cornrows. I'm really
Trust me,
interested.
that's a big decision. I'm sure he got
I'm really interested to see
working
what
on it
he
right
does.
now.
Yes.
All right, welcome back to Speak for Yourself, the most fearless show in sports. I'm Jason Whitlock. That's LeVar Arrington sitting in for that dude, Marcellus Wiley. Eric Dickerson and TJ Houshmandzadeh are back with us. Let's return to the NFL. Sponsored by Capital One. What's in your wallet? Huge game Sunday between the Texans and the Ravens. It has major playoff implications in the AFC as both squads look to keep pace with Tom Brady and the Patriots. Deshaun Watson and Lamar Jackson will take center stage as both make their case to be the MVP. On paper, it's about as even as it gets. Most surprising here is Deshaun Watson only having one less rushing touchdown than Lamar Jackson, who we all know is the best running quarterback in the NFL. All right, the question here is, who will make the bigger MVP statement Sunday, Watson or Lamar? And I'm sure we're all in agreement it's going to be Deshaun Watson.
I mean, after you set it up that way, I hate to go with Deshaun Watson, but I am going with Deshaun Watson on this one. And I think the conversations have been so largely focused in on how amazing Lamar Jackson has been with this run, and rightfully so, very well deserved. But I think sometimes you lose sight and you lose perspective on the talent that Deshaun Watson is. And now you have the opportunity to see Rocky and Clubber Lang come to the ring and slug it out and see who's got it. And I'm excited to watch it. I know there's going to be a lot of people, we've heard the quotes from Steve Young and the things that he's had to say about the comparisons between the two. I think a lot of conceptions or preconceived notions as to which one versus the other will pan out and play out in this one game. But I think Deshaun has the most to prove going into this game. I think the stage is set for him to prove that he should be in those conversations at a much rapid clip of discussion versus where it is currently now.
I'm going to say Deshaun Watson, but I'm not too certain of that pick. Lamar Jackson is phenomenal, and J.J. Watt's hurt defensively. Houston Texans, they have the third-ranked rush defense in the NFL. But when you talk Baltimore and what they present and all the different looks, are they going to be able to maintain that against this type of team? I just don't know. But when I look at it, they went toe-to-toe in college when Deshaun Watson was at Clemson and Lamar Jackson was at Louisville. They both got off. Deshaun Watson came out on top. Lamar Jackson wins a Heisman Trophy that year, but it's one of those things where Deshaun Watson, number one, he's a better thrower of the football. Neither team defensively in the secondary is that great, but on paper you look at Baltimore Ravens, you say, Marcus Peters has come over from the Rams, been balling. They got Marlon Humphreys. They got Earl Thomas. And they have good players, and they shut New England down. That defensive front got after him. Tom Brady's a statue. Lamar Jackson can move around. Deshaun Watson can move around. So I'm going to go with Deshaun Watson. I'm not too certain of it. I just like his weapons better offensively through the air.
I must talk about Lamar Jackson first, because I remember when I told you this, Jason, I said that Ozzie Newsome drafted Deshaun Watson. And I asked him, I said, tell me, is he that? Because I just wasn't sure. He said, Eric, he said, he can play the position. He said, we didn't draft him as a project. He said, it's going to take him some time, but he can play the position. And it's paying off, as you see.
You said that, Eric.
Thank you for giving me that credit, not arguing with me.
Yeah.
But
You've been good the last 2 seconds.
Thank you, man. I appreciate that. You're the best. But when I look at these two teams, I think Deshaun Watson is more of the MVP type. I look at him as like a Tom Brady type quarterback. He doesn't have the Bill Belichick, but he's that kind of player. He can run, he can throw. He doesn't look to run the football first. I think when I look at Patrick Mahomes, I look at him as a Peyton Manning type, a guy that's probably have all the records, but may never have a Super Bowl. He might get one. I look at Lamar Jackson as almost like Michael Vick. It's a different league, but so it protects the quarterback more. You know, back in our day, a running quarterback, first thing you think, oh, we want you to run. You ain't gonna last long. A running quarterback can survive in the National Football League now. I think if you don't have a guy that is agile, that can get out of the way, can make things happen with his legs, it's gonna be hard for your team to be successful. I mean, I just go even to my team, the Rams. Our quarterback is not agile. He can't be. He's not even close to one of these guys. And you see, when you don't have an offensive line, it's hurting us. With Deshaun Watson, Lamar Jackson, in a sense, they don't need that because I can get out the way. Look, Deshaun Watson has a terrible offensive line. So, but for as an MVP and a guy playing well in this game, I'm going to take Deshaun Watson.
I guess I'm going to shock everybody and kind of flip as I thought about this game last night and this morning. I don't like Houston's secondary. And I think this will be another one of those games where we're sitting back at the end of it going, damn, Lamar throws the ball better than I thought.
Man, they're secondary. They're 29th against the pass. That's the thing with Houston.
Right. And so the advantage I think that Houston does have is Baltimore just played New England. When Romeo Crennel is watching the film, he's got a lot of institutional knowledge of what Bill Belichick was trying to do, and he can start trying to visualize. Romeo's the defensive coordinator for the Texans, how he would try to implement some of those things and the adjustments that New England made after the first quarter getting torched by Lamar. But I just go back to I don't like Houston's secondary. Lamar, every time, I go into every Lamar game saying, this is probably going to be the Sunday where his awkward throwing motion catches up with him. And every time he's throwing into these tight windows, and I'm like, damn. I think Lamar is going to exceed expectations. I expect Deshaun Watson to play well, but we may be sitting here and like, damn, Lamar threw for 300 yards. And he doesn't do that often. He normally throws for 200 or so, runs for 100 or so. This may be a game where Lamar wows us with his passing for a Sunday.
I'm excited to see the game. I think there's a lot of storylines going into the game. And when you look at Lamar Jackson, I think the reason why the stage is set for Deshaun Watson to prove that he should be in that discussion is because of the things that you just said about Lamar, what he can bring to the table, what he possesses. We're still trying to figure out how to identify what type of player Lamar Jackson is, and I don't think any of us are clear on what that is at this moment. But for Deshaun Watson, I'm looking at this as here's his golden opportunity to show the world, like, look, I went head-to-head with Drew Brees, and you know what? The outcome was as close as it could be. What's the difference going up against this guy other than to prove that up-and-coming young guns, I can prove that I have just as much potential or upside as he does. And I think he's 100% aware of that going into this game, and he'll show.
You know what helps also is Houston knows the hype around this matchup. One is 2 MVP candidates, it's 2 black quarterbacks, and they want to have Deshaun Watson's back. But they know their secondary. They just claimed Vernon Hargreaves from Tampa Bay Bucks that was just released. He was a top 15 pick corner. And so they know they need help in the secondary. But when you have a matchup like this, those guys, they don't want to let him down because if they win this, it's going to bring publicity, number one, to Deshaun Watson and to everybody else on the team if they can perform and play well. Lamar Jackson is what you said. I'm not 100% certain that he's going to be able to shred the secondary. He shreds secondaries when he gets in a bunch formations with the 3 tight ends. He hits you in the seam. He'll hit you down the middle. And Romeo Crennel, what you said, being with Bill Belichick, you have to take that away. You have to take that away. You can give up a run here and there when they're in those type of formations in that personnel grouping, but you can't give up the big chunks through the air, and I just don't see it happening. Not with Romeo Crennel being a D coordinator.
When you think about Deshaun Watson, he's probably sit and watched everybody talk about how great Patrick Mahomes is, you know, and like. And I'm sure you say, what about me? Look at my numbers. When he played Tom Brady last year, I mean, they should have won that football game. They played Drew Brees this year. They should have won that football game. I think of Lamar Jackson. When I look at him, you know, coaches have said this. When you look at him on film, you know he's fast. But when you see him in person,
it's a different type fast.
It's a different kind of fast. And I think that's why he's so dangerous. But in this football game, you know, a guy that I want because I just feel like he's a winner, he knows how to win, I got to take Deshaun Jackson.
Either one of them, in y'all's opinion, have more pressure on them, more to prove in this game?
I don't think so. I think the cool thing, you brought this up, I believe yesterday, this could turn into a Peyton Manning, Tom Brady deal where it's a matchup for the ages. So I think the pressure is to be the best that you could possibly be. And coming into the game, I'm certain as that knowing what a competitor feels going into these type of matchups, there is a healthy feeling of I need to get down and I need to get off because I know that this guy that plays my same position on the other side of the ball is going to bring his game.
It's a healthy respect on both sides. But you look at Lamar Jackson, I mean, he's gone against Mahomes. That was a matchup. He's gone against Brady. That was a matchup. He's gone against Russell Wilson. That was a matchup. So now for Lamar, this par for the course. I'm going against Deshaun now. Okay, let's see what I can do. For Deshaun Watson, he hasn't been in these type of matchups where he's come out on top. But he's played in so many big games throughout his career when you go back to college that they're not going to put undue pressure on themselves to say, I want to outdo him. In the back of their minds is,
they want to outdo him.
I want to outdo him, but I don't believe them being in the type of games they've been in throughout their career thus far, early in their career, that they'll put that type of pressure on themselves.
No, I agree with you. He has been in a game with Patrick Mahomes. Even Patrick got hurt. But he did win that game, and as a matter of fact, I had a bet on that game with a guy. So I was like, man, I say, finally, someone seeing really how good Deshaun Jackson really is. And think about it, you know, he doesn't have a great offensive line at all. I mean, he's a quarterback that I do like. He doesn't take off running first. He looks and holds it and throws it when he has to, and if he has to run, and he has to run.
Eric, when you play, did you ever play against Walter Payton in the same game?
Yeah.
Did you ever have that feeling that like, oh, I'm fitting to?
Oh, prime example. When we first played against the Bears, I knew Walter, knew who he was. I didn't want to go over and say anything. I wanted to meet him after the game. And after the game, I had 149 yards and 3 touchdowns. And I went over and I said, "What's up, Mr. Payton?" Eric Dixon. I got a picture. He said, "I know who you are." And so, yeah, most definitely. You may not say it. You'll say, "Oh no, it's no big deal," but deep down, yeah, you want to play better.
All right, Darnell. Texans-Ravens, one of the Super 6 matchups this weekend.
Yes, sir, it is. And before the games kick off on Sunday, be sure to download the Fox Sports Super 6 app and play for free for a chance to win $250,000 of Terry Bradshaw's money. Like you just said, Whitlock, Texans and Ravens is one of the Super 6 games this week. Help our fans win some money. Who you got?
I think the Texans are plus 4 points going into this game.
They are.
I had every intention of betting on the Texans. I'm staying out of this game. I just want to watch it and enjoy it. I don't want to have any money on it. I think the Ravens are going to win 27-24.
Yeah,
wow.
I fall on par with that. That's so funny. I'm going 31-24 Ravens in this game. I know we say the biggest upside for this or to prove yourself is Deshaun Watson, but I didn't mean that they're going to win or get the results they're looking for. This is Lamar Jackson we're talking about, so I'm going with the Ravens.
Deshaun Watson will ball out. I was going to say 27-24. Now I'm going to go 28-27 Baltimore.
I'm going with the hometown team, me and being from Texas, Deshaun Watson, 27-20.
Joined once again by LeVar Arrington and TJ Houshmandzadeh. Let's return to Cleveland, where the ugliness of last night's brawl has resulted in multiple suspensions and both the Steelers and the Browns being fined. Pittsburgh and Cleveland play in the AFC North, which is legendary for its tough play and worshipped by fans for that exact same reason. But last night, it went way too far. And the NFL appropriately here, in my view, fined both organizations because they're trying to tamp down on the ugliness of the AFC North. It's a poisonous culture. TJ, a longtime member of the AFC North, do you think the culture of the AFC North played a role in last night?
I actually do. It's that division, especially when you get to November, December, and it sucks that I say this, it's only really when you play the Steelers, man. The way they are, they've always been the best in the division. And so when you play Pittsburgh, you're a little more amped up. Defense, at least for me, offense going against their defense, and that's what they were known for. And for us playing them in Cincinnati, I was like the only guy on offense that would really go back at their defensive players. And so for me, it's one of those games that when you play Pittsburgh, Marvin Lewis used to always say, this is a 2 chin strap game. You get that Wednesday morning meeting, this is a 2 chin strap game. Buckle your chin straps up. This is going to be a physical game. So you hear it all week. Even the coaches we would play the Steelers, and it used to piss me off. They used to act like it was a Super Bowl. Okay, we playing Pittsburgh. We all got to be dialed in. Hey, we just played the Redskins last week. We ain't got to be dialed in for that one?
No.
And so they come into that Wednesday morning meeting with more emphasis when you play the Steelers. And everybody that's been in these games, they know that. And so 100%, the culture is a physical division, but it's because you're playing the Steelers.
I lived in that culture because I grew up in Pittsburgh, and the mentality of that AFC North is how football is played and taught. It certainly is the culture. It's about being hard-nosed, lunch pail, hard hat type of guys. And, you know, I looked at the Baltimore Ravens as being a mirror image of the Pittsburgh Steelers. I look at the Cincinnati Bengals that TJ and those guys were on as close to being mirror images. And you're talking about having guys like Takeo Spikes on the linebacking core, and, you know, you had Wally Rayner, and then you got the great Ray Lewis, and, you know, Potsy and all those guys, the linebackers, the defenses, the secondaries. It's so much defense that there. I mean, I didn't do the numbers. I'm thinking about it now, but if we ran the numbers on Hall of Famers from the defensive side of the ball from the AFC North, I'm sure it would be staggering. It's just a bloodbath. It's a bloodbath division, and it's a division that, as a former pro, a lot of us envy the AFC North. We look at the North and we're like, man, like, I wish I could play in that division because of how hard they play each other. And I likened it to the Big Ten. So I definitely think the altercation had something to do with how hard-nosed the AFC North division's reputation and culture is.
See, I think the AFC North has been good, but it's gone too far. I think that the 2000 Baltimore Ravens and Ray Lewis, that defense, I used to call it a perfect storm defense, I think it changed the AFC North. Everybody had to react to Ray Lewis and what they had over in Baltimore. And if Marvin Lewis was the defensive coordinator of the 2000 Baltimore Ravens, and then he ends up being the Bengals head coach because the Bengals are trying to compete with the Baltimore Ravens. Mm-hmm. And so I look, and then, you know, Mike Tomlin comes into that division. He's kind of a defensive guy. And the culture in reaction to Ray Lewis, and Baltimore, what Ray Lewis did, I don't think any part of it was over the top. It was just like they put together something special, and then the whole division went in on defense and went in on physicality. And the next thing you know, it just escalated to this point where, particularly between the Bengals and the Steelers, it got out of hand. What I loved about what TJ said, and I'm not trying to be sarcastic or argumentative, but what TJ talked about what coaches do Steelers week, that's why I'm saying I can blame Freddie Kitchens. He's new to the division as a head coach. He goes into Steelers week, and I guarantee you, he had some version of it's a 2 chin strap game. And his players, Myles Garrett, who's been dirty all year, interpreted his 2 chin strap, whatever it was, and some of these other guys to me interpreted it as, we need to go a little over the top or push the envelope, push the edge. And we know that coaches, particularly old school coaches, used to be like, we'll deal with the penalties. I'll pay the fine. We'll pay the fines. We'll do what it. If you get over that edge, we'll take care of you. We'll have your back.
You would be in meetings and the coach would literally be like, man, this is effing Pittsburgh week. I don't care about the fine. We'll pay them. Like, they'll come in meetings like that. And so when they come in there like that, you like, all right. And so if you're not giving it to them in practice what they want, they are on your tail. Like, this is Pittsburgh week. And so you start to feel that anxiety that they're giving to you. And so that's how you react.
And that mentality was created before the 2000 Ravens. It certainly came from the Steel City. I mean, that mentality of hard-nosed.
You think I'm talking about Chuck Noll?
Well, no.
Greg Lloyd,
well, yeah, Bill Cowher maybe, but I mean, I grew up, but that was a different NFL. And the
how would they show Bill Cowher chin just looking all mean and
snot coming out his nose, and you loved it. You know, and it's interesting because in those days, in the 2000, a lot of the things that are acceptable back then are not acceptable now. I mean, is Ray Lewis even the guy? Do we love him as much now if he was playing now as we did back then? Because you can't, it's hard to get away. It's not even hard to get away. You can't play that style of football in today's NFL.
That's why Myles Garrett instigated the whole thing. Uncle Jimmy's here to help us talk about our approval rating for Myles Garrett.
You know.
But first, who's the big dummy of the day?
Big dummy of the day go to the person who asked Colin Kaepernick, are you going to wear afros or cornrows? You didn't want the dreadlocks to slow him down, huh, LaVarrington?
I'm sorry.
All right.
Yeah, wind resistance.
Let's return to the biggest story of the day. Myles Garrett, the former first-round pick, or the former first pick in the draft, was suspended indefinitely for whacking Mason Rudolph in the head with his helmet. LeVar, do you think this will follow Garrett for the rest of his career?
I don't think it'll define him, but it certainly will be on his timeline of most notable happenings in his career.
Yeah, I think it, without question. Look, it happened to, in basketball, Ron Artest, Meta World Peace. You can't write his obituary. You can't write a story without mentioning that's going to happen to Myles Garrett. Yeah. Hopefully he ascends to a better place. But Uncle Jimmy, you're suited and booted, and you got your conch going. What's going on?
Well, first of all, I would like to proffer myself up as legal representation for Brother Myles Garrett.
Brother Myles.
Oh, go ahead. What?
Okay.
You going to defend Myles Garrett?
Well, if you just listen, I'm trying to say to you.
Yeah.
Once again, my brothers, we done find ourselves in a double montage.
A double?
A double montage. Yeah. And all across the airways today, Brother Myles Garrett done just been villainized.
Oh, wow.
And for what?
Vilified?
The boy's been villainized just for protecting his family jewels. Protecting his family honor. And who amongst us, my brothers, wouldn't do the same?
Preach.
Let me ask you a question.
What?
Did a white man not kick Myles Garrett in his regentrification area?
Oh, no. Oh, no.
Let me ask you.
No, he didn't.
Wait a minute. Did a white man not attempt to remove his protectional head device?
He did tug at his helmet.
From around his elbow area.
He did tug at his helmet.
Yeah, he tugged at his helmet.
Look here. My sister Josina, she said it so relatively. She said Mason Rudolph must have said something magnanimous.
No, he's
magnanimous.
Egregious.
Yeah. Brother Primetime, Brother Dion agreed with me. What did he say?
Yeah.
He said football is a physical and an emotional game. But what did he say? Brother Rudolph is not without fault. Rumor is he uttered that unspeakable phrase from up under the pile. And y'all know what he said.
Oh, no.
Boy, no.
He said, yo mama.
Oh, that'll always do it.
Yo mama joke.
That will always
and see,
do it.
this is where the miscarriage of justice prevails. Look, Myles Garrett was just simply trying to remove the head restraint so he could hear Mr. Randolph more clearly. Oh. And he was asking to reiterate his previous statement.
What did he
Mr.
say
Rudolph,
about his mom?
Go ahead, yeah.
And listen, and I would like to say, furthermore, he was not trying to strike the aforementioned white man. He was trying to return the protective head device to the rightful owner.
On his head. Wow.
And I would like to say that in this day and time would be the American thing to do.
Yeah.
Bottom line, case closed, okay? Look here, this is a football game. You go whistle to whistle, keep your head on the swivel. Whistle to whistle, head on the swivel. Truth is, if the helmet didn't fit,
then you gotta quit.
Then when it comes to Myles Garrett, you must have quit. That's one thing's for certain and two things for sure. Myles Garrett, come see me if you want to.
You sound just like LeVar in the A block.
Stop that.
I don't know if that's good for you, LeVar.
Stop.
Oh, wow. Look, LeVar did all that defending of Myles Garrett, and then you got him at a dumpster fire just like me.
Well,
who'd you think you were grading? Mason Rudolph?
Truth is truth.
All right, I got him at an 18. That's a record low for me.
Hating on you, LeVar.
0 job performance, 4 all-time greatest, 12 character, 2 authenticity. That story about the fan punching him in the face, I ain't buying that.
You ain't buying it?
Dumpster fire.
Well, I got dumpster fire, too. Job performance, he ain't available. That's a 0.
Yep.
All-time great. I mean, he's done a few good things. He's out there. I give him a 10. Character, obviously, I'm going to go with an 8. It could be higher if he didn't get that, but authenticity is certainly a 5.
Internet
23.
agrees with both of us. 74% dumpster fire, 14% GOAT. All right, we'll see you next week.
Justice for Brother Garrett.